I've spent the last 111 hours analyzing every episode of SpongeBob SquarePants, and let's just say, in legal terms, things are not looking so great for Patrick Star.
If you can't do the time, don't do the crime.
I'll be ranking the Pink Starfish's crimes from laughably petty to crimes heinous enough to make even the Flying Dutchman shiver in his boots. To start with, let's talk about the time Patrick literally destroyed a whole carnival. It all happened during that Valentine's Day episode when SpongeBob promised Patrick a special surprise.
It's the greatest, the bestest, the most fantabulous.
SpongeBob put some great thought into this. Honestly, you gotta give him some credit.
Take me through the plan again.
Okay, step 1. Patrick and I get to the Valentine's Day Carnival. Step 3. You arrive at designated checkpoint for maximum visual contact. Step 4. Patrick is thrilled. Mission accomplished.
And while Sandy was busy crafting the hot air balloon made entirely of chocolate, SpongeBob kept Patrick busy. But wait, why isn't Sandy showing up?
SpongeBob, we got ourselves a little problem. I got a pack of chocolate-eating scallops trying to wrestle a balloon.
Of course, it's going to the scallops, because we all know scallops love chocolate, and SpongeBob isn't always the best at thinking on his toes. With Patrick getting visibly agitated, SpongeBob tries to defuse the situation by offering Patrick a handshake.
What's that?
A handshake, a friendly handshake.
Seriously, SpongeBob, after all that hype? It might have just worked if it wasn't for everyone telling Patrick about the amazing gifts SpongeBob had given them. Talk about rubbing salt on his wounds.
I wanted to thank you for this box of chocolates.
No problem, Fran.
I mean, even though I was expecting more.
Thanks for the roses, SpongeBob. Happy Valentine's Day.
You too, Dave.
And not that it matters that we've been friends for so
Hey,
long.
SpongeBob. Thanks for the bike. Can you believe this guy? I just met him this morning.
Overcome with jealousy and rage, he goes on a rampage, destroying everything in sight. The guy at the balloon stand. The guy just trying to check the time.
Excuse me, do you guys have a time?
Patrick needs love too!
Even the innocent Valentine's Day mascot.
I defy you, Heartman!
They all become victims of Patrick's tantrum. Oh, Patrick, when will you learn to control that temper of yours? Never! It's been like 20 plus seasons. That'll never happen. Now, not only is this childish behavior, but it's also considered vandalism in the Marshall Islands, where Bikini Bottom is situated. For these offenses against beauty, order, and the environment, Patrick's facing some serious consequences. We're gonna charge $5,000 for the Carnival Rampage. Those balloons were not cheap. Assault and battery charges on the minimum wage mascot guy have 2,100 hours to clean up the carnival mess. Next up, we witness the relentless torment Patrick inflicts on Bikini Bottom's grumpiest resident, Squidward Tentacles. As you all may know, Squidward just wants some peace and quiet, but it seems like Patrick's got other plans. Whether it's using his clarinet as a toilet plunger.
But we're gonna need a new toilet plunger. This one's broken.
Patrick! Barging into his house unannounced. Or just generally being a nuisance.
I'll go first.
What did you do?
Patrick's relentless antics would definitely qualify as harassment in the real world. Someone should get Squidward a restraining order. Poor, poor Squidward. The constant torment he endures at the hands of, or rather the stubby arms of Patrick Star is enough to drive anyone to madness. But wait, let's just hear what Squidward has to say about this.
You call yourselves good neighbors? You're the worst neighbors!
Yep, that makes everything clear. It's time for Patrick to learn some boundaries. For this relentless harassment, Patrick's looking at a potential fine of $500 and some mandatory community service time, up to 30 hours. Oh, and let's not forget that restraining order to keep him away from Squidward. As if harassment wasn't bad enough already, in the episode The Survival of the Idiots, Patrick ends up mistaking hibernation for an open invitation. This is a classic episode, dude. It's a chilly winter day in Bikini Bottom, and Sandy's tucked away in her tree dome for a long winter's nap. But what do SpongeBob and Patrick decide to do when they see a big, bold keep out sign? Well, break in, of course.
Sandy? Hey, Sandy! What's with the sign?
Now, Sandy even left a video message for SpongeBob telling him that she didn't want to be disturbed at all. Pretty clear instructions, right?
If y'all are watching this, that Spongebob.
But Patrick completely ignores the warning and pushes SpongeBob, who is, by the way, very reluctant, into the tree dome. And to make it even worse, he says this.
He said not to come in. Let's amscray.
When are you gonna learn, SpongeBob? No means yes.
Okay, Patrick, that's quite a character reveal there. Not only is this trespassing, but it's also incredibly just rude to interrupt someone's beauty sleep. But trespassing is just the tip of the iceberg here. Once inside, Patrick and SpongeBob proceed to wreak havoc on Sandy's winter wonderland.
No!
I'm Dirty Dan.
I'm Dirty Dan.
I'm Dirty Dan. I'm Dirty Dan.
I'm Dirty Dan. Oh!
And even try to burn the bark off her treehouse.
We'll burn the bark from Sandy's tree.
Yeah, I forgot that happened. I was very shocked upon rewatch. And if that wasn't even enough, they rip off all of Sandy's fur to stay warm. That part I remember.
No!
Sandy eventually wakes up to find her home in complete shambles, and the two of them dressed in her fur. That's gotta warrant some emotional distress compensation, right? Like, I don't know what does if that doesn't. So for this blatant disregard for personal space, private property, and just basic common sense, Patrick specifically is looking at around $17,000 in fines, plus facing up to 2 years in jail for trespassing and the obvious assault on poor Sandy. You just know you're Patrick Star when your words of wisdom end up getting your friends mauled by seagulls. It all started innocently enough, where a friendly chat turns into a contest between sea creatures and Sandy.
She says land creatures are best.
Only 'cause it's true. We're best at horse riding and fur styling and rowing.
And after trying to prove that land creatures are better than sea creatures, Sandy challenges Mr. Krabs, Squid, SpongeBob, and Patrick to survive a minute on her turf.
You're such hot stuff, don't you? Swimming around with your fancy gills and such. But none of you wetheads would last a minute on my turf. Dry land.
Patrick, of course, can't resist stirring the pot, so he pressures SpongeBob along with the others into venturing onto dry land, ignoring the dangers involved.
Hey, we are not chicken. My popcorn.
Yeah, we're not chicken. We'll do it.
Now, even though Patrick isn't the only one involved here, his actions can definitely be deemed as negligent endangerment for pressuring SpongeBob to head straight first into a dangerous situation.
We're not afraid of your dumb old land.
Yeah!
We're sea creatures.
Yeah!
Okay.
Despite their hesitations, everyone heads to the surface, and at first they seem fine, exploring and even chatting up a couple of seagulls. But of course, things quickly take a turn for the worst, and the seagulls become aggressive, chasing everyone across the beach in a chaotic frenzy. It's only thanks to Sandy that they escape back into the water, narrowly avoiding serious harm.
Holy guacamole! You can't eat my friends, you rats with wings!
Patrick's reckless actions, though not his alone, put his friends in danger and led to actual harm. In the real world, he'd face a negligent endangerment charge. We're talking about a $20,000 fine and 3 years in jail. Maybe that'll finally teach Patrick that his impulsive behavior has real consequences. I mean, we wonder why he never has any character development throughout the whole series. We all know someone who's let a little power go straight to their head, right? Insert any retail manager here. Well, Patrick's brief reign as king of Bikini Bottom is a perfect example of that, times 100. In fact, it's the same episode where he mentions that he's got tons of books that he never returned to the library.
Patrick, what are you doing?
No, I have to get rid of these books.
Why?
I'll show you why. See him? He's from the library. He knows about my overdue books.
Oh!
Maybe not a super crime, but we'll keep that on the list of potential charges. Anyway, turns out absolute power corrupts absolutely, even if you're a starfish with questionable intelligence. It all started when a starfish minister showed up with some surprising news.
Even if I did know this alleged starfish, Patrick wouldn't know any overdue library books.
Well, it's too bad you don't know Patrick Star, because I am from the Royal Ministry. I have a gift for him.
Patrick was descended from royalty, making him the rightful king. Of course, Patrick being Patrick immediately thought the crown was edible.
This is the worst tasting gift ever.
But once he understood its real purpose, you can definitely see he wasn't the most humble ruler.
Okay, thank you, sir. I'm sure King Patrick could use this walker.
I hope so. Neptune knows I did. Oh!
I need your opinion on something. Do you think the giant flat-screen TV should go over the fancy egg display or the indoor swimming pool?
Suddenly, Bikini Bottom was under the rule of King Patrick, where he demanded tribute from his subjects. Refused to pay for his Krabby Patties.
Hey, can I get a little more ketchup?
How's about you pay the check instead?
Oh, sorry, Mr. Krabs. As king of Bikini Bottom, I am allowed to have anything I want. Isn't that right, SpongeBob?
That is correct. Anything you want, and it's all free.
And even stole a Fish's comic book collection. That's where I draw the line, honestly.
Mom's gonna be so proud of me.
No, she won't be, because these comic books are mine.
But I spent my entire life collecting those.
But you see, my dear viewer, the crimes didn't stop there. Patrick forced others to build him a grand rock castle, and even went as far as to move Squidward's house without his permission.
Oh, what a beautiful morning. Just perfect.
Back. Yeah, that's good.
What's happened to my... SpongeBob, Patrick. What the barnacles is going on here? Look at my poor front yard.
Your front yard?
His Royal Highness is building a royal Ferris wheel.
Ferris wheel?
Just to make room for a Ferris wheel? Honestly, that's not an abuse of power. That's a legit move. Eventually, even SpongeBob had enough of Patrick's tyrannical behavior and abandoned his post as royal servant. Patrick, realizing the error of his ways, finally lets go of the throne.
A knock-knock joke. Who's there? You. I don't get it. I'm you, and you are me. What have I become? Monster! Oh, dang it, I don't want it anymore! It's turned me into a monster!
Patrick's royal antics would hit him with around $16,000 in fines and 4 years behind bars. The theft, abuse of power, and tax evasion stacks up quickly, along with some solid jail time for his short-lived reign. If you're like me, you probably definitely remember Nature Pants as a classic episode where SpongeBob decided to ditch his job and live amongst the jellyfish in Jellyfish Fields.
Hey, SpongeBob, you having a garage sale?
No, Sandy, I'm giving up my material possessions to live in the wild with the jellyfish.
Why would you want to live among the jellyfish?
Well, while SpongeBob was embracing his newfound freedom, Patrick was having a full-blown meltdown.
I'll give him a week.
I'll give him 11 minutes.
Patrick sad!
He just couldn't handle the thought of losing his best friend, so he hatched a, let's say, unique plan to bring SpongeBob back. Armed with SpongeBob's trusty jellyfish net, Patrick set out to capture him and drag him back to Bikini Bottom himself.
What are you doing?
In his frantic quest, Patrick becomes more and more unhinged, eventually attempting to trap SpongeBob in a whole jar. Dude, really, Patrick? Putting your best friend in a jar? That's a clear case of false imprisonment. Cut and dry.
If I can't have you as a friend, I'm gonna make you a trophy. I even picked out this nice jar for you.
Thankfully, our pal SpongeBob managed to evade capture, but for his misguided attempt to keep SpongeBob safe, Patrick could be facing a fine of $5,000 and up to 5 years in prison. That's a pretty steep price for not letting go. We're at the halfway point here, and Patrick's already looking at 14 years behind bars and enough fines to make even Squilliam consider flipping Krabby Patties. But now we're about to plunge into the depths of Patrick's criminal record, where the crimes are darker, the consequences are harsher, and the jail time more. Look, let's just say Patrick might be trading his rock for a cell block. If you've got a pet, you know that they are basically just a part of the family, an extension of yourself. Leaving them under Patrick's supervision and care, is not something you want to do. Unfortunately for SpongeBob, in the episode Pet Sitter Pat, SpongeBob ends up entrusting his best friend with the care of Gary while he attends his grandmother's birthday.